Today on Locked On Red Wings, Scotty and I are going to preview the Stanley Cup Final, as well as take a look at what defensemen on the free agent market could realistically land on the Red Wings.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. I am a producer over at 97.1 The Ticket, while Scotty is host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News. Scotty, how'd your lacrosse weekend go, man?
You know what? It was one of the busiest weekends ever, and was was precedent there for a little bit. I was writing articles and in the driver's seat of my car. It was parked, but it was.
I like to imagine you driving around with the laptop and just steering with your knees as you type away.
Because earlier in the weekend there was a little bit of rain up there, so and then there's just no place for media to sit down and tie, unless I just want to do it in the stands, which I didn't really want to. So yeah, I was writing articles in my car and then turning them in right before the next games would start. Was running around. It was very, very busy, but I do I love what I do, but it was it's busy and chaotic, but I wouldn't change this industry for the world. It was very, very cool. A lot of cool coaches, a lot of really cool kids. It was fun to talk to everybody, fun to watch, kids' dreams come true. It was super cool.
Well, there you go. I mean, if you guys want to check out some of Scotty's work, make sure you head over to DetroitNews.com. Where you can see his articles. And I'm sure he is a writer, so I'm sure it is very, very strong. No doubt. There we go.
I know you're trying to find the banner.
I found
it.
Yeah, I was just filling time till I found it.
Yeah, no, I did. Yeah, I did boys and girls lacrosse for the spring, and then boys hockey is probably the biggest. We don't have to talk about my job for the whole time, but that was a very big and cool thing too, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you had a good weekend, man. Over here at Locked On Red Wings, we had Jake Vard on Friday. He gave us a little bit of a retrospective.
Jake's the man. I was really I had to do what I had to do, but I was really upset that I had to miss that because Jake Vard's the man.
Yeah, and he basically said in the end the decision he was going to go was Yzerman was going to continue to preach patience, which is basically the middle route to what he had suggested, is that the team's just going to kind of maybe get a piece here or there, but overall just kind of do.
Sure. And we've talked about that.
And it makes sense. It's the most realistic option for the Detroit Red Wings this season. So we'll talk about that in the second and third segment as to who the Detroit Red Wings are going to get on the free agent market, or who we think they could go after on the free agent market for the defense. We kind of previewed it on Thursday's episode last week. But I do got to tell you guys, today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline. It's where the game starts. First segment here, though. We do kind of want to talk about the Stanley Cup Final. The matchup is set, and it's going to be the Tampa Bay Lightning for the third straight year in the Stanley Cup Final, facing off against the Colorado Avalanche. And this is I saw somebody on Twitter say it best, though, Scotty. It's that this is the matchup people say all year is going to be in the Stanley Cup Final, but never seems to actually happen. You know how playoffs work, and everyone's bracket always says it's going to be the Lightning versus the Avalanche, or this year it was probably the Panthers sprinkled in there plenty, but it actually happened. The two best teams made it to the Stanley Cup Final, and it's just it's kind of exciting that Colorado's there, but there's definitely a huge amount of Tampa Bay Lightning fatigue, although I'm not really on that train necessarily. I've always liked the Tampa Bay Lightning before we were in the Eastern Conference, before the Red Wings were in the Eastern Conference. They were my Eastern Conference team because Yzerman was general manager. So knowing that that's the team that Yzerman still mostly built, the coach, the assistant coach Lalonde, who's a candidate to be head coach if you go to betonline.net. This core is still very much Steve Yzerman's core. So the idea that a Steve Yzerman built team could win a third straight Stanley Cup is still kind of exciting, even though I know and I understand that, people are tired of it.
Yeah, I'm rooting for like a comet to hit the arena. That's what I'm rooting for in this series. I mean, golly, I'm so tired of the Lightning. And you're not gonna catch me rooting for the Avs. Like it just brutal. Like, and the thing is, I think the most messed up part about that mindset, where like I really don't want either of these two teams to win, is I think it's going to be a fantastic series. Like I really do. I think that I would not be surprised at all if it went 7. I think it at least probably goes 6. Like I really do think that
Oh,
this
could go.
is
It's
gonna
definitely
be
going the distance.
yeah, I think that this is gonna be a fantastic series. Um but I don't want either of them to win.
Well,
I'm
if you
very tired of one and probably never gonna root for the other.
they're both such complete teams. I mean, the Colorado Avalanche this year. So Cal McCarr for Colorado is leading the postseason for the Avalanche in points with 22 points in 14 games played. That's a defenseman, guys. A defenseman who basically plays like a
Yeah,
a dangler, a elite
for real.
forward. Whatever
For
the
real.
adjective I'm trying to find here is. Then you got Nathan McKinnon with 18 points in 14 games played. You had Mikko Rantanen, Gabriel Landeskog, of course, up and down. Nazem Kadri, unfortunately, lost thanks to the hit from Evander Kane. But, he's, even though people are saying he's out, he's posted on social media, is like, we'll see. He thinks he's going to come back.
Yeah.
These two teams are so well rounded that the only question mark, the only reason I think that the Tampa Bay Lightning will probably, even though I think I am rooting for Colorado just to have somebody new in the Stanley Cup, even though I think the reason I think Tampa Bay Lightning will probably three-peat here is just one, experience, and two, goaltending. I mean, goaltending is the biggest question mark the Colorado Avalanche have right now. Not that their goaltending's been bad. I'm not trying to say that. But, with Darcy Kemper getting hurt and Pavel Francois, who's been good, or Francois, whoever it is, taking over, I mean, that is a little bit of a step down because Darcy Kemper was playing phenomenal for the Avalanche before that injury. And then you look at who the Lightning have in net, and multiple-time Vezina winner, Andrei Vasilevsky.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like that experience and that goaltending is going to be the edge because they both have a very deep defense and they both have very deep offense. So it's going to come down to goaltending and experience, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, if it comes down to experience, especially, like, then we're gonna see a three-peat happen. But I also think that who is the best player on the ice for either team?
The best player that's going to be for Avalanche. It's tough. It's either McKinnon or McCarr.
Who's the best player on the ice in the series? Both teams combined. Which team has the best player?
I got to say the Avalanche with McKinnon.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Okay, so in my eyes, these are both two really deep teams. Some people think that there's fatigue happening with the Lightning. I mean, they still made it to the Stanley Cup. Like, clearly, it hasn't affected them too much. But I guess they do have 4 to 7 more games left. I think that at the end of the day, maybe it comes down to just who has the best player on the ice, and that's going to be the Avs. If I had to pick a team to root for, I guess I would pick the Avs, but I'm not going to be rooting for either. I enjoy good hockey, and I think that this series is going to provide quite a lot of really good hockey.
So it's just, yeah, I think McKinnon is the best player on the ice, but it's not as if the Lightning, and I know you aren't saying that, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but like that is such a small separation, I feel like, between these two teams.
Oh,
I mean,
for
the
sure.
Lightning have Victor Hedman on the back end. They have Stamkos, Kucherov, Braden Point all in the front, and then it's just in that they got Andrei Vasilevsky. So, yeah, the Avalanche probably have the best overall player, but the Stamkos and the Lightning have their own set of elite weapons. And Stamkos, but to his own credit, in his what age year is
man, what a career, by the way. I mean, golly, like
age 32 years, been probably having his best year.
Yeah, and it feels like he's been around for like 20 years, but he's only 32. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's like he's dealt with injuries and missed time and like came back and just what a career. And for a little while, people were like, oh, like he's gotta, before this three-peat started, they were like, we gotta give, we gotta get back to the cup, like we gotta win a ring as like Stamkos continues to get older and now they've three-peated or almost. They've
Wait.
back-to-back currently, but
He had
it's
106
just
points
ridiculous.
in his age 32 year, and I think that may have been his first time in his career hitting 100 points because, like you said, he's been hampered his entire career through injuries. He was a first overall pick in 2008,
Yeah.
and it's not like he never had the
When was
weapons.
he
He
on the
always had the
cover of
weapons.
Chell?
It was 2012, I think.
He was really young. He was like
Yeah.
one of the younger like players to ever be on the cover of Chell. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was 11 or 12. Yeah,
I think because I had that one, but that
I had that one too.
But yeah, it's going to
Just
be
unbelievable career, man.
it's going to be an unbelievable season as well. I'm really pumped to see and watch the series because the
It
pace
was
is
the
going to be
first time that
insane.
he ever hit 100 points, by the way. He's hit 98 in 18-19, 97 in 11-12, 91 in 10-11. Golly, man. This dude, that's why it feels like he's been around forever. He played 80 games at 18. And like, you know what I mean? And like at 19 years old, he was a 50 goal scorer.
I mean,
At
Lucas,
19, he was a 50 goal scorer at 19 years old.
yeah, but could he reverse hit
Not.
people like Moritz Seider?
Absolutely not.
So Moritz Seider's better. All right.
Hey, he got ninth in the Calder. What a bum.
How did you get ninth in the call? Whatever.
His Calder season, he had 23 goals and 23 assists, and he got ninth.
Who is it? We got okay.
All right,
while I read this ad read,
break, and we're going to the Calder voting for that year.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Look it up while
We're
I'm reading this.
about it.
Our next partner has a product you got to use literally every day. You got to start taking AG1 because it is the best way of getting all your high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food for superfoods, I nailed it.
You did.
I didn't even think about it. I just nailed it. Probiotics and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all of those things. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free. Contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals, or artificial anything while tasting good. Athletic Greens was created when the founder experienced a ton of gut health issues and ended up on a complicated supplement routine to recover. It cost them $100 a day. Athletic Greens has over 7,000 five-star reviews recommended by professional athletes, trusted by leading health experts such as Tim Ferriss and Michael Gervais. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in your cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up your daily nutritional insurance. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast, and you have a look on your face,
dude.
Scotty.
There is some awards this year. Holy cow, man! The award voting in 08-09 is fascinating.
That's the year the Wings lost in 7 games to the Penguins. Not the Rub Salt Moon. Sorry, guys.
So first off, the 08-09
Onarn.
08-09 Hart Trophy. Ovi won it. Datsuk was third and received first place votes for the Hart that year.
Hell yeah, let's go.
That's super cool. He had 97 points, 32 goals, 65 assists. Ovechkin put up a 50-50 season, though. So that'll do that. That'll do
good
that.
for, you know what? That was Prime Datsuk, and Prime Datsuk was something to behold, man.
It was. Also, Malkin almost had an 80 assist season and got second.
80 assists?
Almost. He had 78 assists and 35 goals. Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Malkin did.
Disgusting.
So those are your top 3 for the Hart that year. Now, here's where it gets fascinating. 4th place for the Hart Trophy is Steve Mason, goaltender for Columbus. 4th for the Hart. Okay? 4th for the Hart. And here's where it gets crazier. 4th for the Hart as a rookie because he won the Calder. Almost unanimously. Bobby Ryan got 9 votes.
Bobby Ryan.
Blake Wheeler got a first place vote. And Chris Versteeg got a first place vote. Besides that, all the other 121 first place votes all went to Steve Mason, who was the goalie, the starting goalie on the 08-09 Blue Jackets, who had 92 points, which was 4th in the Central that year, but still 92 points for a 20-year-old rookie goalie. Now, the rest of Steve Mason's career, as if you don't recall, he was runner-up for Vezina somehow. I'm not sure how that's possible this year. He was 4th for the Hart, but 2nd for Vezina.
And one Calder.
And one Calder. Who won the Vezina then? This is so wild.
We're going down a rabbit hole.
This year's voting is so crazy. So he does that, right? He had 10 shutouts in 61 games.
That's damn good.
That is remarkable. He had a .916 save percentage. His career save percentage would be .911. He would not make an all-star team. He fell off pretty quickly after that, I guess is my point. Barely had a .900 save percentage the next 2 years. Had below .900 the year after that. Got traded to Philly, which is where I remember him from.
Yeah, that's where I remember him from too.
Him and Bob for a little bit there. And he was a decent, got Vezina votes 1 year in the rest of his career. He was decent for Philly. Around a 918 career save percentage as a Flyer in 5 years. That's pretty damn solid. He was a solid goaltender, but never, I don't think, ever lived up to being a top 5 Hart finisher as a 20-year-old rookie and almost winning the Calder unanimously. I'm not sure he really lived up to those expectations, but it's just fascinating. That's a name I haven't seen probably since he left Philadelphia.
Yeah, I completely forgot about him until you brought that up.
And the fact that he was 4th. I think Tim Thomas won the Vezina this year, by the way.
Oh, that would...
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
I forgot that he came out of nowhere in like his late 30s as like a
Michigan
goalie.
Born, by the way, Tim Thomas, the dog. So yeah, there you go. So Bobby, all those people ahead of him. Now that we're almost 2 segments into the show, but I don't know. This is fun. I like going down rabbit holes like that.
Yeah, no problem with it. Do you want to get into our defensive free agents though? Because I do have a
couple that I like.
Yeah, there's a handful of guys. There's one Stevie reclamation project. I teased it. I kind of talked about it briefly with Jake on Thursday, but I wanted to throw it at you and see what you thought. As well as a couple other guys. I think the first guy we got to talk about though is John Klingberg. He's a free agent from the Dallas Stars. I believe he is 28 years old this season coming up here. And I was really high on him earlier in the season because, he's got great offensive capabilities as a defenseman, and Red Wings just couldn't score goals. But the big thing that the Red Wings struggled on was stopping goals getting scored on them. And yeah, I've really soured on the idea of John Klingberg. He's probably the biggest defenseman free agent this offseason. Chris Letang and PK Subban obviously are well-known names, but Klingberg being 28 is probably the guy who's going to get paid the highest. And the more I looked into his stats, the less I loved about him. He is incredibly offensively talented. Like, he can definitely score points and get goals and set up teammates, and he's very good at zone entries, but he's a glass cannon. If he doesn't skate up the ice and score, he's not helping defensively whatsoever. He's a major defensive liability.
For sure.
In the 74 games played, he had 47 points. He only had 6 goals, but he had a multitude of assists. He had, let me see if I can do the quick math in my head here because they separate assists, primaries and secondaries. He had 41 assists, so that counted for most of his points in this season. And then his relative to his teammates, he was a negative .14 expected goals for percentage. And then the overall on that Dallas Stars team, he was a 50.37. So he was a positive asset overall when he was on the ice, but relative to the teammates he played with, he was a negative asset. So that would lead you to believe that he was a positive asset just because the Dallas Stars was a pretty good team. So I don't know. I've really soured on him. I also looked up his player card, and his expected goals above replacement is like 4, but his expected goals above replacement against EV defense was like -7. Yeah. So the offense that he produces is clearly outweighed by his defensive liabilities. And his defense is second percentile. That's the best way. He's 80th percentile offensively as a defenseman, but second percentile defensively. Like, there's just no defense with John Klingberg, and that's the thing that this team needs the most. So I don't want to give, especially with where this team's at, I don't want to give $8 million a year to a John Klingberg. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. This is, I don't know, man. Like, it's really not a super strong defensive free agent class.
No, it's not. And actually, I talked a little bit with Jake Rivard about that. Overall, it's not that great of a free agent class this year. But defensively, especially, it's kind of lackluster, which I think plays into the Red Wings' favor a little bit, because it's going to be another year where you sign a couple guys you hope will work out, and if they don't, like, it's no big deal. They're not going to make. I've got, the more and more I talk to people, the more and more I become convinced that this is just going to be another off season where the Red Wings just don't really commit.
Well, there's no
commit to anyone.
They're smooth.
Thanks.
There's no one really, especially on that we've covered so far in this entire series that we've started, that's really worth committing to long term out there in the free agent market. I mean,
yeah.
You want to bring in a 38-year-old Johnny Boychuk? Like, I don't know, man. Like, there's just, like, some of the best defensemen in this class are literally dudes like Nick Leddy is in, like, the top,
and we've seen Nick
6
Leddy.
or 7, like 8 defenders in this class. Like, that's that we just had him,
and we already know
that didn't help anything.
He's got the same problems that John Klingberg did, albeit a little bit more mild, but he's another offensive defenseman, and he's not necessarily great in his own end.
Yeah.
So I want to get
barely any defensemen like under the age of like 33 in this class too, but
that's what really made it tough.
That's a different thing.
Well,
I guess the same thing.
Yeah, it made it really tough trying to find out who I would want on the Red Wings.
Yeah, it's really. I think you're right. I think it's going to be another year of some 1 year kind of hitters, just a couple
reclamation projects.
Yeah, just to, maybe play solid D for a year, maybe be good and flip at the deadline. Maybe, like you said, reclamation projects. I think it's going to be another one of those off seasons for the defensive end, at least.
I want to get one of the guys you want, but first I got to talk to the people about BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, news, and odds, including this year's basketball championship matchup. Thank you. The NHL, hockey. It's the Stanley Cup Final, Major League Baseball, and of course the latest fighting news from MMA, UFC to boxing. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sport wagering information, including live betting, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. We're talking about defensive free agents that we could possibly want. You know what's funny is we haven't listed a single defenseman yet that we wanted. And the 2 episodes we've talked about free agents,
it's
every defenseman we don't
man.
want. Is there anyone you do want? Anyone that does interest you?
I'll be honest, there's nobody that jumps off the page to me. Is there anybody to you? I mean, like, I have a couple of guys in mind that, like, I wouldn't mind kicking the tires on for sure. I mean, but I don't think there's anyone, like, if Josh Manson hits the market, that wouldn't be one that I'd be, like, totally opposed to. But again, I mean, he's on the younger end for this class. Was traded midseason, obviously, to Colorado. Like, I don't know, that's a guy that can bring some experience, can be a decent, top 4 defenseman if you need him to be. But again, that's like a 1 year, maybe 2 year type of carryover thing. I don't know if I really see that as like a, long-term option, I guess. And I'm not sure there is one out there, I guess is my point.
Full disclosure, I missed the name you said. What was the player?
Josh Manson.
Oh, Josh Manson. Yeah, I looked at him too, and I just wasn't impressed. He has.
Yeah, I mean, same, right?
he in his 22 games with the Colorado Avalanche this season, he had an expected goals for percentage of 44, and that's a stacked team. So if you can't have an over 50%,
that's really rough.
You want to look relative. I mean, relative to the teammates he was playing with, that team.
Oh, that's got to be.
He was a minus 0.68.
That's got to be tough. Yeah.
I'd rather not take a flyer on him. My reclamation project guy, I want to see the Red Wings take a flyer on. and I mentioned it with Jake on Friday, is Sebastian Aho of the New York Islanders.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. That's
The
a really
other
good one.
Aho. He is a G6 UFA, which, of course, I told you what that meant the other day as well. He did not play enough games at the NHL level by the age 26 season, I think it is. And so he becomes a UFA, which is why it's a G6 UFA. It's like a different category. But he's a
Yeah.
free agent now. And he made a $750,000 last year. He's not great. I'm not going to say he is. He was relative to his teammates in Long Isle. He was a negative 0.58 expected goals for percentage. So the team was worse when he was on the ice. And I'm not going to deny that. But, at his age, 26 years old, I mean, you can get him for cheap. You can fill a depth role, and maybe he's a guy that you can get something out of. Maybe a change of scenery will do something nice, because he was, it wasn't like a highly touted player, but he had a higher ceiling and a higher floor than what we've seen out of New York. At least we thought he had a higher floor than what we've seen out of New York.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like that one a lot. I think Nikita Zadorov kind of fills that a little bit too. That's a former first round pick. Top, I think no, I don't think he was a lottery pick, actually. I think he went just outside the top 15. But I mean, logged some decent years in Colorado, just played for Calgary this past season. Had like almost 20 assists. I think he was getting some second and some third line defensive minutes. So like as far as, like you said, reclamation, maybe, I mean, he's still only 27. If that's a guy who's going to hit the market that you can possibly steal, like that's like I said, just had a really good experience with a really good Calgary team. I think that might be someone that falls under that same umbrella.
He is absolutely. He's actually the guy that's popped off the page the most. Nikita Zadarov is the guy that I want the Red Wings to sign the most if he becomes available. The problem is Calgary, obviously they have to go out and sign Johnny Gaudreau, but
For sure.
right now they have a projected cap space of $26 million, and I think Zadarov's a guy that they're going to want to lock up for a few years to come, because he did have a pretty good season. He had, like you said, 22 points in 74 games played. Not an incredibly productive season, but he was one of the best defensive defensemen on that team this year, 0.08 expected goals for relative to his teammates. He is a solid player and going to be a free agent coming up here. So outside of him, if he doesn't get signed, absolutely go after Nikita Zadorov.
For sure.
But then there's also Erik Gudbranson, who is 30 years old. So he's on the wrong side of 30. I get it. But if you're looking for a player that you can sign cheap,
30 is still, I mean, again, compared to the
enough.
rest of this class too, like 30 is pretty damn young.
Yeah, I'm not gonna look at 30 years old and be like, oh, that's too much, because we have to make concessions. We have to realize that we're not going to get every
UFA
under
too, eh?
Yeah,
I mean,
and he only made
$1.9
$1.9 million. So he's another guy. I think he's definitely in the realm of possibility, because they're gonna, with the Johnny Gaudreau extension, if they want to extend him, they're gonna have to let somebody walk.
For
and
sure.
I'd be okay taking a flyer on Erik Gudbranson. He wasn't the best,
Well, especially for sure. You got to also talk about the possibility, when players walk like that, is those players would be one of the more prominent defensemen in our organization immediately.
That's exactly,
and they are like depth-ish, not disrespectfully, but like some of those guys aren't even top 4 defensemen on the teams that they're currently on. So
you look at Erik Gudbranson and what he did. He was a negative 0.17 relative to his teammates in Calgary. He comes to Detroit. He's a positive asset. So just because somebody relative to their teammates isn't good doesn't mean they're not a good player. It just means that they could have been playing with incredibly talented players. It's like when we were looking at the Colorado Avalanche just now with Josh Manson. I mean, Manson was a positive asset with the Anaheim Ducks, and then relative to his teammates in Colorado, he was just outclassed, because his teammates in Colorado were insane. He was just it really also depends on the team you're playing on, and that's not an excuse. You shouldn't be like settling for players who can't make it on good teams just because your team's bad and he'll be better. But
if you're going to have this type of an offseason again, those are the guys you go after.
And you just sometimes you have to. It's really tough to say, because I'm not in love with any of these. Like we said, it's just it's a weak class, and you're just going to end up probably preaching patience and just trying to fill holes while making steps to be better. But there's no one in this defensive class that you're going to want to be like, this is the defenseman for this team going forward. It's this defense isn't one player away from being a Stanley Cup contender. This defense needs 5 other defensemen because none of the other 5 outside of Moritz Seider were, let's be honest, really any good this past season.
Yeah,
Mark
especially
Stahl
on the
had his
defensive
moments,
end. Yeah.
but can you name another defenseman who was consistently good?
Yeah, not defensively, no.
Yeah. And
Certainly
so
not.
it's unfortunately a kind of a rough defensive class, but you got to make do with that and try to
But
improve nonetheless.
I mean, think about it. Like you and I don't want this to be like all, doom and gloom either. Like we can end on a positive note. You're bringing back Moritz Seider, obviously, and the presumption is you are bringing up Simon Edvinsson.
Yeah,
So
more than likely.
you have 2 guys under the age of 22 that are going to head your defense, and then on top of those 2 guys, right? Then you bring in a Zadorov or whatever, and you add in more young-ish, age 30 around or younger. You bring in more like youngish talented dudes hitting their prime that were on really good teams last year. You bring in, 2 of those guys, and then you can fill the third line or however you want to mix and match it rather. However you want to do that, the last 2 spots can go to whatever, young talent in your organization, RFAs that you bring back this year, etc. And while it's not going to be the best defense in the NHL, I'd still think that that's a step in the right direction. It's still a youth movement going forward, and there is still a high ceiling within it. It's just picking the right guys in free agency, and maybe having to wait one more year until we really make a big splash.
So going back to Nikita Zadarov, though, because he really is the one defenseman in this free agent class that I'm kind of like sticking to and be like, he would be a positive asset on this Red Wings team.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Overall, his expected goals above replacement percentile was not great. He was the 25th percentile. Not great. They can admit that. But if you break it down a little bit more, he kind of got unlucky and just had a penchant for taking bad penalties. He took a lot of bad penalties. He did. He was a -2 in that category. The worst thing he was.
Goodness.
Yeah, not great. But his expected goals above replacement defensively was expected to be a +4. Realistically, it was about a 3. So he was playing good enough defense to have expected saved about 4 goals. Now, his expected goals above replacement for even strength offense was about 1. So based on how he was playing, he should have provided an extra goal of offense above a replacement level player. In reality, it was about a -1.5, which means that he just didn't have finishing ability or got unlucky. So if you look at his expected goals above replacement, even strength offense, even strength defense, he was a positive asset in both regards. He's definitely more of a defensive defenseman. In fact, he was in the 70th percentile amongst just defense in goals above replacement. But
we'll gladly take that.
We need a defensive defenseman.
Defensive defenseman, right?
And like if they don't get Nikita Zadarov, I'm not gonna like cry about it. But it's just like if I'm looking at any defenseman from this class that I want, I'm kind of hitching my horse to Nikita Zadarov train right now.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Not that there's like, again, it's just most classes it wouldn't be the case. Nikita Zadarov wouldn't be my guy. I'm going to.
That's a testament to how not great this defensive class is.
I love evolving hockey.
Yeah, it's great.
It's pretty. Let me look up Erik Gudbranson real quick. I know we got to end things, but I'm just really curious.
He's a hockey player.
He's actually pretty good.
There you go.
Yeah. Let's see if I can share the screen a little bit here. See if pop that bad boy back up there. Yeah. So like, not a negative asset whatsoever. I'll take Erik Gudbranson.
Certainly not.
So it is relative to his teammates. It doesn't tell the whole story. He's a positive asset both offensively and defensively, albeit just barely, kind of like a Gustav Lindstrom type for the Detroit Red Wings. Gudbranson obviously being better than Lindstrom, but Lindstrom being way younger. But just like being one of those guys who's a hair better than replacement level, I'll take that. I'll take that right now, which is a testament to how low our expectations are too right now. Like our defense is so bad that we just want someone who's a little bit better than average.
Correct. Yeah. And again, like
he's 52% percentile overall. That's literally just a little bit better than average.
Right. And we know that this isn't an off season where we can get like a long-term big splash, like top end defenseman in free agency. So this is the kind of offseason we're looking for. And again, I don't want to make it sound like this is like a huge negative thing. Like we can take huge strides forward with the defensive unit. I mean, it's going to be hard to take a step backwards. So
Well,
it's very possible to still make good moves. It just might not be like the super big and flashy moves that maybe some people want, because it's literally not possible. There's literally no one out there to do so with. It's not like, we don't have the money or the guts or whatever. Like it's not really in the cards on the defensive side of the puck, at least.
I completely agree with you, and we might be a little bit doom and gloom looking at it here now, but just exactly as you said, there's definitely ways to make this team forward. And you got to also remember, we're only talking about free agency. You got to also remember, Steve Yzerman could go out there and make a trade, and he did it last season. He made 2 big trades, one of which panned out, one of which you recouped your second round pick. It's all good in the end, but that's probably in the mix too. Yzerman's going to be wheeling and dealing, and so the free agency pool is not the end all be all.
For sure, absolutely.
So that's a good ending spot, I think. Thanks for making Locked On Red Wings your first listen every single day. Now make your second listen.
BetOnline.
You got me. You boomed me. Absolutely got me. Now make your second listen Locked On NHL. Locked On NHL covers playoffs like no other. Hear the latest news and opinions from local experts every Monday through Friday. It is free and available wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back with a new episode tomorrow. Special guest tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that. Scotty, any final thoughts?
We ball.
Do you know what LARPing is now?
I do now. I had literally had to Google it. I'm not kidding.
Oh, okay. You're making me feel old. Same time.
I think you're just a nerd.
That is true. Same place. It's your team. Every day.
Every day.
Very true.